Good morning, friends. Today we're going to be going over a couple of the rental properties that we own here, just some of the money that it makes, some of the real examples, and also trying to answer this question on the screen. Is real estate worth investing as a side hustle? That's what it's turned into for us, is just a side hustle to create wealth and be a good driver for the future that we want. So hopefully we can answer some of the questions of, is real estate worth it? I'm going to take you through a couple different properties, one that we pay the utilities on, for example, versus one that we don't. And also we have an apartment building, and kind of like what does that do, and kind of what are some of the differences, the pros and cons. But cheers, friends. We're going to answer that question. Is real estate worth it, or is it going to make you pull your hair out? We're going to try and better understand so we can make smarter investments in the future. Cheers, friends. Enjoy the morning show. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Talk Care Morning Show, where we go over tips, tricks, ideas, and exercises to help make you the absolute best person you can be, not only for yourself, but for the people you love and care about most. I'm going to close this door. The sun's out, the sun's shining. I can feel it through. It's in the middle of winter. It's like 70. It's going to be 70 degrees today. Pretty wild. I got to say, I really do enjoy the office out here because I work from home. We open up the windows. I hear a bunch of birds and chirping. It's not the summertime, so we don't have our fountain going, but with usually water. And it's really zen, trying to make our home office space as zen as possible, because it takes a lot of work to do these types of things. Okay, anyway, we're talking about real estate. I was talking a little bit too much about our home. Good morning. Good morning. I thought it'd be helpful to just kind of run over some numbers and get an idea on what it is we're doing, how things that are working. Is the effort worth the pain for real estate? And we're just going to go over some of the pros and cons, and hopefully you can make a decision for yourself as we try to figure out our journey and our path. Maybe it's helpful to preface what I believe the main goal is I'm really trying to learn a lot about the industry. I'm trying to build assets and equity so I can have like an ace in my pocket. So when we get into our 30s and 40s and 50s, when that really good opportunity comes my way, because I believe everyone gets a really good opportunity a couple times in life, I just want to be ready. I want to have chips to be able to put onto the table. And I also understand real estate, and we have the resources for it. We'll get into the pros and cons anyway, but let's go ahead and start off with just a couple of these duplexes. So this is just for last year, getting all the tax stuff done. But maybe I can zoom in so you guys can see a little bit better. So this duplex in particular, this one made 7,000. This one made 7,534, and this is before taxes. Like, I haven't paid taxes on that profit yet, so it'll realistically come down a few $1,000s, but understanding the taxes, you always got to pay your taxes, man. Okay. If I could zoom in a little bit better. I'm all over the place this morning. Okay, so this one did 7,000. This is a duplex. This duplex we bought, so we got it a lot cheaper because there was a hoarder in one side of the property. And it turns out good deals are really hard to find. Yeah, I think that's the hardest part in real estate, realistically, is just finding good deals. So you got to find really good deals, and then they have to be in a location that makes sense. We're doing the strategy of investing in our own backyard because we're very hands-on. Like, we don't pay for management. We use through my girlfriend and her family and my family and the things that we have all the tools. That was something I didn't really understand first getting into real estate, was all the equipment. You either got to pay a pro who's going to charge you a bunch of money to like do the work, or you got to do it yourself. And even when you want to do it yourself, you got to have the tools to be able to do it. Huge thing I underestimated. I can't even imagine. Shout out to my girlfriend. I couldn't do this stuff without you. But yeah, just being able to, you needing the tools. But this property in particular, I think it has a lot of potential coming in this next year, because we have one of the tenants that's paying currently. So the one side, I should have split these up, but it's, for me, it was just easier to read with total income. So at the end, you see the jump from, we raised the rent, we raised the rent and we fixed up one side of it. Now we need to, the even bigger unit, which has an additional bedroom, we're going to raise the rent on that. So this income should bump up next year per month. It'll go from $1,275 to, we're going to be able to add another $175 in rent each month. So that'll be a nice little bump of a couple thousand in revenue. And I think that's really been the biggest moneymaker so far, is just getting a hold of these suckers and raising the rents. So you either want to raise the rents or lower the expenses. On this one, we didn't, this last year, we didn't pay for, we just had to pay for sewer and trash. So we paid for sewer and trash, but the tenants paid for the electric, the water, and the gas. So this was a duplex example of where we don't pay the utilities. And I think our best opportunity is to invest in, you take the money that you make is, to me, it's not even like, we're putting it all back into the pot, because we're just trying to improve the properties, make them nicer, force appreciation, raise the rents, attract higher quality people, because we've just had some instances, all landlords do, with some people who just don't give a crap. And we're going to talk a bit about that and paying for the utilities. So this was the first example. But this property, I'm excited about it. I bought it off of one of my friends, and it was a good deal. We've been working on it. We've been doing things to it. We're just going to keep improving it. I got a really low interest. I got a low interest rate on it. It's like 4.25%, and it's over a decade. So I'm pretty happy with this property. We're going to keep fixing it up and making it nicer and raising the rents, and it'll make more money while we continue to pay it down, and it goes up in value. Good side investment. All right. Here's another duplex. This one we made $8,000 on this year. And again, this is before taxes and then some additional expenses. So always take those numbers with a grain of salt. I feel like you get put out these numbers, and these people haven't even paid their taxes on this stuff yet. But this duplex made $8,000. This one is a government. So you can see here in the income line, just like $4,500 and then 0. So this is through government, and they pay once a quarter. And in the beginning, this was nice. I like this because you would get the lumps of the money. It would just be direct deposited. You wouldn't have to be calling people or collecting rent, because with no rent coming in, this rental stuff don't work. So that is one nice thing about it. And that's why we still have this one on here, because as we're trying to fix up and raise the rents over the other one, this one is just a nice anchor property. It gives us a lot of stability, and that's something we like. There is no doubts in the usage that you can see. When people do not pay for the utilities, they don't really care a whole lot. So that is something that we really need to be aware of, that I have learned the hard way. It's nice, you get the automatic payments and all this and that, but when it comes to gas usage, so for example, at this one property, it was really, really cold outside. And I drive by the house and the windows are wide open and it is freezing outside. And I'm going up, I'm knocking on the door. I'm like, hey, you gotta close these windows. What are you doing? They're like, oh, I'm sorry. We got a little hot. We got a little hot, so I opened up the windows. I'm like, what? It's below 30 outside. Either way. So instead of turning down the thermostat, just opening the windows, you can see that sometimes people do things that are not super smart, and just not being emotional about it, understanding like, okay, well, that's probably $50, but at the end of the day, we're doing the structure for now just because of its stability. We talked about raising rents and finding more income opportunities. So for this one, it's a 2-car garage and we rent it out to, we don't rent it. We don't rent the parking because in our town, we're not going to get anything for extra for giving some parking. So we just turned it into an in town storage unit. And then I met a contracting friend. And so he rents it out for for some money, and that's just some additional income added on top. And really, it like pays for the property taxes, which is really nice. So, yep. So we raised the income on that. But this is, you can tell with when it comes to the electric and the water and the trash and the sewer and stuff, the bills are higher than when the tenants pay for it. At the end of the day, people are just not going to care as much when they don't have to pay for it. So that's a reality, and that's something we need to keep back pocket. Okay. This last one is a group home, so it's got multiple units within it. This one I wouldn't recommend to beginning investors. It made more money, that is for sure, but it also has been a total pain in my butt. Whether it's, you can expect to have to do some evictions, you can expect for things to just lower, thinking of the people who live in single family homes are probably going to treat those the best. And then you go down a level and then it's probably duplexes. And then you go down even a lower level and it's probably apartment buildings. So the people aren't going to be treating them as nice. This property in particular has been a total pain in my butt. And anybody who really knows me and what we're doing on working on them is I'm actually trying to improve this property, get it even more cleaned up, get some new people in there, and try and have it make more money so we can sell it, and then I can get something that matches our goals and plans into the future. Okay, sick. All right, but that was those were just some example properties. So this one was a duplex where we don't pay the utilities. I like this one. It's cool. This one we do pay the utilities. They don't take care of it as the house is nicer, but people just don't give a crap if they're not paying for it. And then the apartment building, it's I'm just, if you're going to do it for a side hustle, I probably would stick with something that's a little less demanding, unless you can hire professional management. If you can make the numbers work and hire professional management, then by all means, apartment buildings more units, more money. Like, that is definitely true. But there's risk and return. There's a reason why there's not just free profit to go around. You're going to have to be more involved. You're going to have more people coming in and out the door, and it's going to be a bigger pain in your butt. So you're always paying. There's no free lunch, right? You got to pay your price in some way. But these are just some of our properties. I thought it'd be kind of fun to go over too. I'm going to kick this off the screen. Hopefully this was, what are some of the other key things? I would say if you are going to manage it, I think having them close and in one specific area is really smart. Somewhere, whether it's on your way to work, say if you have a full-time job and it's on your way to work when you're getting started, if it's close to other family members, so it gives you a reason. That's a big reason why we buy in the area that we do, is because my mom owns a house relatively close. or just, yeah, you want them bundled up. You don't want them spread all there out because you're going to have to go over there when it's inconvenient. That's pretty much like guaranteed is you're going to have to go over to these properties when it's inconvenient. I've gotten calls at 2 in the morning. We had a furnace catch on fire at like 3 in the morning. We've had basements flooded out in the middle of the night. Yeah, like we've had the horror stories, but at the end of the day, like I don't really like drinking that much anymore. Kind of we're very zen, peaceful people out here in the country, so I like it because it kind of gives us something to do, and it's undeniable that, for example, those two. I think I owe in debt like 75,000 on those two houses, and they're both worth like 120 a piece now. So it's a lot of equity in just a couple of years, and they cash flow great. So I'm not ever worried like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have the money to pay for the bills. And it's like, nope, because we're not greedy. We're not taking money out of them. We're just reinvesting them. We're trying to make them nicer, trying to raise the rents, trying to improve the value of them. And we're just feeding the machine. We're just kicking it back and feeding the machine because I really want either to go on a bunch of vacations in the winter to Florida and Colorado, or own like a condo in Florida and own a single family in Colorado. These are my aspirations. But talking to your partner, for example, my girlfriend helps me with this stuff all the time. Like I couldn't even imagine managing this stuff, doing the coaching gig and managing that without her. So making sure that she's on board with some of this crazy stuff. And yeah, I'm not even 30 yet, man. So I'm just trying to learn as much as possible. I'm trying to keep just dumping the money back in so we just can get better stuff. I would say we have like C class assets, and I'm trying to get a couple A class assets. But I also didn't inherit a bunch of money when I was born. I love my family to death. We just aren't super rich. So trying to create wealth and keep it rolling over. So when we have children, we can kind of give them the full slew of like, okay, this is what this is. This is what this is about. These are your options. What do you want to do? And just give them some good options and kind of just play it out there, educate them, be like, these are the pros and cons. Just be prepared to do this or don't. So the reason why bigger, like if you're going to get, it's easier to buy C class assets. It's easier to get in. You don't have to have as much money. You don't have to have as much experience, but there's always a trade-off, right? So if you are getting into these properties, which I got into my first duplex with $10,000. So $10,000, we bought that duplex, and yeah, and there was a bunch of stuff that we learned very quickly that I knew or we didn't, like getting new tenants in, or kind of dealing with the government and all the paperwork involved. Like working with those government checks every quarter. Love seeing them come in. Love cashing that $4,500 at the end. But also, there's a lot of paperwork involved and inspections and checks and all this crazy hoopla stuff. So it is a pain in the butt. But it's also a pain in the butt to ask people for rent and they're paying late, and you got to put late fees, and then you got to threaten evictions. And so it can be a really messy business. If That's why I want my coaching company to make a bunch of money, and then I just take the money, and I already know what type of real estate we want. I feel like without getting these bumps and bruises, I wouldn't have any idea of what we actually want and what good actually looks like. I feel like you listen to these real estate podcasts and you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could buy something down in Nashville. Oh, I could buy something down in Florida. And it's like, okay, how do you even know what a good deal is? I have no idea. And so I didn't realize how little I knew until we got into it. But we've learned a lot. It's not rocket science. It's actually pretty straightforward and pretty easy. It's just kind of a pain in the butt. So, but businesses, it's cool. Like it's something to work on and get to talk with my family and I get a lot of support from my family, a lot of support from my girlfriend and her family. So would it even be possible without all this support? It's a good question to ask. So for example, we redid this room over, put new floors down and like repainted the trim and quarter round and painted the walls and did the ceiling and made this room look nice. And we had the air compressor tools. Like we already had the nails to put it in. We already had the tools to like put in the new floor and clean everything out. So what would that really cost if we didn't do that ourselves and we had somebody else do it? Would it be worth it then? These are just things that we got to play back and forth. I think the best way to learn if real estate investing is worth it or not is to just buy something. And the worst case is you just buy it to where you can sell it and like pretty much break even. Because the podcasts just don't, they just don't teach you everything you need to know, like filing for taxes and bookkeeping and managing people and having hard conversations and all these side things that none of the books taught me. But my old mentor, Rich out of Chicago, I reference him a lot. And that's what the advice he always told me was, he's like, just go buy something. Shut up. Just go buy something. Like, quit telling me all these numbers. Like, go buy something, try it out, keep it for a year. And if you hate it, sell it. And if you love it, go buy some more. What a thought. So that's what I did. And I like it. I think it's cool. I think it's working. I think it's going in the right direction. And so keep building momentum. Hopefully this was helpful. Or we just went over some talking points on, is real estate worth it? I think probably could have done a better job of drawing diaphragms and stuff like that. But I figured just giving some real examples and just understanding that stuff breaks, man. Houses, people break shit and stuff gets old and wears out and needs to be replaced. Those will happen. Like for example, we had to pay this last year, a year from last month, we at one of the duplexes, we had to buy a new furnace. That cost $8,000, $8,000. See, that's why you got to save the money. You don't just take the cash flow. So I think it's easy to, it was like in money. We started cash flowing on some of the properties and I'm like, oh, wow, this is making some money. Maybe we could do something. And I'm like, nope. Well, just like Rich said, put it back in the pot for the first couple of years and make sure nothing's breaking and this and that, and go figure, right? Something happens with the furnace. It was $8,000. We bought it and fixed it up. And now the property's worth even more. So that's part of the investment, right? So that's the reason why I like real estate, is because when you fix things up and you get new stuff in it and you make it nice, you can raise rents. Goes up in value. Force appreciation, natural appreciation, both working in your favor. There's a bunch of reasons why to love real estate, but these are just some of mine. But yeah, the management, man. Good luck finding a property manager, dude. I've worked with a couple and they didn't even respond, and I was just paying them 10% for nothing. And man, so be careful on that stuff. That's a huge consideration to have as you're moving forward. And maybe you just want to own nicer things. Maybe you just want to pay cash for something and then have somebody manage it that way. There's a number of ways you can go about it. This is just figuring out what works for us and trying to make the most out of it. Because again, trying to just have these just, hundreds of thousands of dollars, building up an equity and just putting it in our back pocket. We got some aces in our pocket. So when the next big opportunity is like, I really want to buy this house in Colorado that I've been looking at, and you got to have money to do that stuff. So if I can exchange from some things that we have into something that's nicer and something that we really want, boom, that's the goal and that's the vision. But All right, folks, that's really all I had today. We just broke down a few of the numbers, some of the pros and cons of paying for utilities versus not paying for utilities, some of the numbers that the duplexes are doing, things that you can expect. For example, we just want like $500 a month if from each of our duplexes in cash flow. We take that, just put it back into the account and save it for when furnaces go out and all that kind of stuff. So keep it rolling, keep it investing. But these were some of our properties. Hopefully this was helpful. Again, side hustle for me. It's not, I don't do real estate full time, but I do want nicer properties and I do want to make money off of them. And so we can give our children a lot of resources. We can buy properties in different parts of the country when we're ready, right? It's a slow game, right? Thankfully, Rich really told me about it. He's like, man, don't be expecting to get rich super quick in this game. Like, this is a slow thing. You buy things and you hold them for long periods of time. It's like, oh, okay. So it's a bit of a waiting game, but I'm going to get older no matter what. So might as well get rich. Cheers, friends. That's all I got for today. Hopefully this was helpful answering that question. Is real estate worth investing, especially as a side hustle and not a full-time thing? Because that's our flavor. But love you all. I'm going to bounce out of here. I got some more tax stuff I got to do and some coaching sessions I got to get ready for. But you guys have an incredible, incredible day. And I'll see you guys live tomorrow morning. We're going to be doing a show bringing on my new friend, Erin McDonald. She's a personal trainer, nutrition coach out of Flagstaff, Arizona. So and she's building a house out in Mexico, which is pretty cool. So I'll get to talk to her about that, but it'll be really fun having our guest on. So make sure to tune in with us live, 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Central Standard Time for another episode of Talk to Your Morning Show. Cheers, friends. Love you all. You guys have a great day. Peace. In case you need to hear it, I love you. You're badass. You got this. I'm out.